Hi. Today we're going to talk about one of the most important aspects of our bariatric journey, and that is emotional eating. I divided it into several parts for this gym experience because it's a big subject, and I want to break it in smaller bites, if I can call it that, in order for us to digest it in between times. So this is part one. The first thing I want us to know is that we are born as human beings to connect. And the way I look at it, because I'm really visual, is that we're born with a plug that we want to plug into somebody and an outlet that we want somebody to plug into us. And that's just the way we're wired. This plugging in is called attaching or attachment. And when I plug into my mom and she plugs into me, that attachment is a secure attachment. But if something happens to mess with that attachment, maybe she gets sick and unplugs me while she goes to the hospital, or something else happens. For me, it was a younger sibling was born, so I had to share my plug, and that wasn't very fun for me. But when something happens to mess with that attachment, then we can either go into an avoidant attachment or an anxious attachment. Very seldom, sometimes we go into both avoidant and anxious, but I'm going to just talk about avoidant and anxious as two separate ones today, just so that we can understand it a little bit easier. So with the secure attachment, we're both plugged into each other. When we have an avoidant attachment, my mom's put her plug covers on so many times that I avoid plugging into her, and I just kind of keep my plug to myself so that I don't get hurt. And then with anxious attachment, I'm hovering over her plug, trying to plug in, trying to find just the right time and the right spot to plug in my plug so that she'll have an attachment with me. And that's called anxious, because I'm just kind of hovering over waiting for it to happen. When we can't attach to our primary caregiver, or later on in our primary relationships, then we suffer from an emotional neglect, and that influences our sense of comfort and connection. And when that happens, when we don't have that sense of connection, we often turn to food as our primary connection. So then we end up with a little bit of an eating disorder because of that. So when we lack connection, and this becomes super important, so I'm going to go down these very carefully, and I want you to listen for ones that might apply to you, might used to apply to you, or may still apply to you. The first one is, sometimes you don't feel like you belong when you're with your family or your friends. Everybody else seems to have a space or a connection, and you don't feel like you do. You pride yourself on not relying on other people, so that's avoidant attachment. I don't want to plug into anybody because I'm just going to get hurt. You have a difficult time asking for help. Again, avoidant attachment. You have friends or family that complain that you're aloof or distant, or you don't connect. Avoidant. You feel like you haven't met your potential in life, and that's an interesting one for attachment, but it's because we don't ever completely associate into something because we don't want to be disappointed. Again, we avoid. We often just want to be left alone, clearly avoidant. Secretly, you feel like you might be a fraud. You've got a little bit of imposter syndrome going on. If people just knew you, they wouldn't want to be around you. They wouldn't want to be your friend. Tend to feel uncomfortable in social situations. You often feel disappointed or angry at yourself. You judge yourself more harshly than you judge other people. You compare yourself to others, and you often find yourself lacking, and you find it easier to love animals than people because they're pretty unconditional. Again, just know that you're not the only one in our community that feels this way, if any of these fit for you. The next page, there's another page. You often feel irritable or unhappy for no apparent reason. Again, emotionally, you're not feeling connected, so it's hard. Have trouble knowing what you're feeling. Have trouble identifying your strengths and weaknesses. You need other people to help you do that. And again, that's a little bit of an anxious attachment. You're plugging in, so you'll get feedback about who you are. Sometimes you feel like you're on the outside looking in. Believe you're one of those people who could easily live as a hermit because attachments are so hard. Have trouble calming yourself. That's really a clue that there's an anxious attachment going on. You feel like there's something holding you back from being present in the moment. And at times you just feel empty, just empty. Secretly feel like there's something wrong with you. And the last one, I think, is a big one, struggling with self-discipline. That could be anxious or that could be avoidant. We just have a hard time with that sometimes. So then at these points, food becomes our secret or not so secret friend, because food doesn't expect a lot from us. Food is always there, it's comforting, it tastes good, it doesn't judge us, and then we judge ourselves. We either feel guilty for eating or we feel shame. And guilt is when you feel like you've made a mistake. Shame comes from outside yourself, when you feel like you are a mistake or other people say things or treat you a certain way. That creates a shame inside. So it's really important to understand as we're working on our emotions and working on attaching to us, because in the end we have to attach to ourselves. We're the only people that are going to be there for ourselves 100% of the time, and so we have to attach to us. In order to do that, we need to understand what we're feeling, and these are the feelings that we tend to eat away, and they come in the acronym of BLASTED. So B stands for bored, L stands for lonely, A stands for anxious or angry, H stands for hungry or hormones, S stands for sad or stressed, T stands for tired, E stands for excited because we can eat when we're excited, and D stands for depressed. So knowing, connecting with yourself and having that connection helps you understand what you're feeling at the time that you're wanting to eat or go off of your eating plan. So it's time to do a reflection. And the first thing is reflect on your relationships. Are they secure attachments? Are they anxious attachments? Or are they avoidant attachments? Or are they a combination of both? Most attachments aren't 100% of one or all. And then review the when you lack connection section of this workout and see which ones seem to apply to you the most. This week, every time you eat or you want to eat, review the BLASTED worksheet and see which feelings are happening. If it's anything besides hungry, evaluate and say, do I really want to do this? I'm on to myself. I'm calling myself on this. Do I really want to eat this thing because I'm not really hungry? So until next time, enjoy your day. Have a great week, great workout.